seconds for that to kick in. And once it kicks in, we'll know that it's kicked in. Okay, it's kicked in. It says excellent connection. And I'll just verify that we are still here. And excellent. Okay, that's all good. So just a little heads up there to YouTube. I don't know what happened then. I am live streaming through beamstream.gg and everything else has been fine. The whole, like in the last, say, 5-6 minutes, every other platform has been fine, but YouTube just stopped. It could just be an ingest issue at YouTube's end. I don't know if it was the content we were looking at. We just started to watch the war, an update on the war, and it just died on YouTube. So what I've done is I've just restarted it on a new stream on YouTube, and then hopefully I can join the two together. I don't think you can do that in YouTube Studio. Can you take two streams and patch them together? I don't think you can. I'm going to learn anyway. We'll see. So anyway, well, I guess we'll know because we're going to continue on now and just see what happens. By the way, is the chat working in YouTube? Let me just check, skis. I'll just see if the chat's working here on the tubes. Is this chat on? The chat is on YouTube. Okay, so we're completely fine to continue rolling, and we'll just see what does happen if this cuts us off. Yeah, very frightening. Not frightening, but just, you know, like what I always say this, but I've got to a point now in my live streaming where everything is taken care of. Like all of my setup's perfect. Like I love everything about it. It works fine. I will update to the M6 processor, maybe, but as it stands right now, I've got the greatest live stream setup that I need, except when something doesn't work. And in this case, when something fails, like whatever that was, concerns me because I know I didn't do anything, and the internet's fine, everything else is fine, and then something just doesn't work. I'm like, oh, what could that possibly be? Everything else is fine here. Let's move on. Back to where we were. See if it cuts itself out. Play, I said.
Rocket strike a meeting.
You know what? Let's test it by going right back to the start of this video and see what happens.
Making news this Wednesday, the 4th of March. Everything's been knocked out. Donald Trump.
Everything's been knocked out, including my YouTube stream.
Talks up strikes on Iran as he turns on traditional allies, calling the British Prime Minister no Winston Churchill.
We got to that
Israel's ground incursion into Lebanon intensifies as rockets strike a meeting to choose Iran's next supreme leader. Plus, a devastating accident. An 8-year-old Australian schoolgirl killed in a holiday tragedy in Japan. And the biggest media bust-up
who gives a shit? People are dying in Japan. What's going on over there?
Decades. Radio royalty Carl and Jack.
Who gives a shit?
This is Seven's National News with Natasha Belling.
Come on, Natasha.
Intensifying on both sides of the conflict, with Iran increasing strikes on what Donald Trump has called neutral countries. The president denying the US was pressured into the conflict by Israel and claiming they're hitting the enemy very hard. Rob Scott reports.
Well, for the first
Netskis, it's all good, man. All good on the YouTubes.
time since ordering Operation Epic Fury, Donald Trump has taken questions from the media. During a meeting at the White House with the German Chancellor, the President says that the operation has, in his words, knocked out just about everything in Iran, including its air force.
He tells Iran it's now time to pick a new leader, then bombs the building that was holding the votes to elect the new leader. Is that what happened?
Navy and its air detection systems. Donald Trump also denying that Israel forced his hand with the timing of the offensive.
We're having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand.
Asked what his worst-case scenario would be at the end of this war, the commander-in-chief said having someone take over in Iran is just as bad as the previous supreme leader. He also revealed the United States does have a few candidates that it prefers, but he's not sure they're actually still alive after strikes on government buildings and meetings.
Most of the people we had in mind are dead. So, you know, we had some in mind from that group that is dead. Well, and now we have another group. They may be dead also.
Frederick Merz says Germany is on the same.
That's going to be a problem. They're all dead, Dave. Jude, how you doing, Jude? Over on the kick machine. So the people they were going to use are all dead. So that's not going to help. That's kind of funny way of wording it. Hey, well, he's dead.
Or they're actually still alive after strikes on government buildings and meetings.
Most of the people we had in mind are dead. So, you know, we had some in mind from that group that is dead. And now we have another group. They may be dead also.
Frederick Merz says Germany is on the same page when it comes to getting rid of the previous regime, but he stressed part of his discussions with the president today would be about what's next for Iran.
The American army are doing the right things to bring this to an end and to have really a new government in place who is coming back to peace and freedom.
Iran continues to hit back, striking the US consulate in Dubai, a drone hitting a car park nearby and sparking a small fire. That as the US closed embassies in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Lebanon and Jordan, urging Americans in the region to get out and get out now.
9,000 Americans have been able to leave the region since the start of this war. We have
was the same case as last time. No weapons found or even ready. Okay, so I thought that the idea was to prevent them from having nukes, not that they already had them. I didn't think they were looking for nuclear weapons. I thought they were preventing them from being built.
1,500 Americans that are requesting assistance with departure.
And Donald Trump has also announced the United States Navy will, if necessary, start to escort tankers through the Strait of Hormuz, he says, to ensure the free flow of energy to the world.
Interesting. The Strait of Hormuz that is being held hostage, I guess, is causing fuel prices to soar right now in Australia. I should have filled up yesterday because I just checked at the beginning of this stream and fuel is up to $2 a litre, which is up from $1.50. Yep. Let me trouser refresh here on the Petrol Spy app. I'll just reload the app. There's no confirmed reports that they had capacity or were getting ready. But they've had, from what I understand, there's been 47 years of them getting ready. So the dearest I'm seeing in my local area is $2.11. Jeez, man, it's gone up 10 cents in the last half an hour. $2.11. I should have filled up yesterday. I am from Sweden. Sweden? Yeah, that's a bit of a shame. I should have filled up yesterday. But anyway, I didn't.
Fifth of global oil supplies transits through that critical shipping route, which has been severely impacted during this war.
Rob, thank you. Israel is ramping up its offensive against Iran, deploying ground troops to the south of Lebanon. Leaders say they want a swift end to the conflict, with the number of civilian deaths increasing.
So Trump controls Venezuelan oil and now Iranian oil is disrupted. Yes. Yeah, so it's going to go higher, right? Like, I mean, I literally have to fill up. I've got none. I'm empty. I've got to fill up either tomorrow or the day after.
Chief reporter Chris Reason is in Tel Aviv.
Good afternoon. Yeah, certainly tensions in that area ramped right up today after the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, gave the green light for his troops to go over the border into Lebanon. This really is the first ground forces action in this war, extremely significant. We saw up there today as well tanks in the area. The Israelis are denying this is a land invasion of any sort. It is an incursion, a ground incursion, they say, to create a buffer zone, a safety zone to keep Hezbollah militants and terrorists at a certain distance away from their citizens in the north. Now, this
is what we were saying would happen, right? This is exactly how we said it would happen yesterday. The north of Israel into Lebanon. I filled up yesterday morning, $85 worth. Dude, it'll be over 100 for me, probably 110 or something. Which affects everything, delivery trucks, supermarkets, so on, all need fuel. Oil is something that will control, cripples the world, yeah. But you said this wasn't about oil. It's not the only goal, but oil is a big part. From what I understood, the oil that comes through that Straits of Habula is only 20% of the world's supply, right? Jude, gee, you think maybe it might be to control the oil to China? Jude?
As well as the ground operations,
of
course, there were aerial operations as well. Israeli Air Force taking out targets from all the way down in southern Lebanon up into Beirut, the capital city. 40 people killed so far. sparked an exodus of people trying to get out of that area.
Whoa.
30,000 people in Lebanon now displaced. Now, Israel also having to fight this war on the major second front in Iran, and today telling us that their aerial operations, the campaign continued at pace there, targeting today leadership compounds and one particular building that was hosting the so-called Assembly of Experts. 88 clerics that are meeting today and yesterday to decide who is going to be the next supreme leader to replace the now killed Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Now, as that meeting was going on and the vote was actually being counted, the missile came in through the roof and flattened the building. It was caught on camera the moment. We're not sure yet of what casualties there may have been inside at that point. The Israelis clearly trying to disrupt the leadership transition program and try and cause as much damage as...
So the Israelis bombed you said that was Trump that did that. That was the Israelis that bombed the center where they were choosing the new supreme leader. Everything's affected, delivery trucks, supermarkets. Yeah. Cripples the world. Not just the production, but the sea passage of oil ships. The US wants an excuse to frack again. Now they have it, and it will make big money of their reserves. They work together. Well, yeah, but when you said that Trump bombed, you made it look like Trump did that, but it wasn't. It was the Israels. They did that. So I don't know if we're gonna if we're gonna get everyone. There's definitely both sides in my chat for this and against this. But if you're gonna make blanket statements about things, just be more clear about it, because the way that you worded that sounded like you were saying Trump did it. Well, that's what you did say, but it wasn't. And they are working together, obviously, because they are the two first countries that sort of set this in motion. But by far and away, the majority of other countries are on their side, right? Even the Iranians are on their side. Like, I haven't seen much backlash from Iran saying stop this. They want this done.
And to any management of the country in this interim period before the next phase of leadership is decided. Now, also, we saw Iran fight back as it has been continuously and throughout this entire region, not just at Israel. They've been hitting back at the UAE again and in Qatar as well. Their campaign has continued across this entire Middle Eastern area. 10 countries now have been impacted by either missile strikes or drone attacks, all the way out to Cyprus in the Mediterranean. But it has come at a cost. Red Crescent organisation today revealing 757 Iranians so far killed, including, tragically, 165, most of those young children, females in a primary school that was mistakenly bombed. Back to you.
That'll be hectic in the aftermath. They bombed a school. Just ignore the chat from Star Sage. I'm fooling around with these trolls, but when I'm talking about something intense like this, I'm not going to bother about trying to engage a troll. Is there a difference between Israel and Trump? Come on, man. But yeah, this is going to be interesting when this all comes out. How did someone, fire a missile at a school instead of and get that all wrong? Because that's horrible. That's a troll. Yeah, there's been plenty of them on Nemo TV.
Yeah.
Chris Reason reporting there from Tel Aviv. Thank you. Meantime, Australia's two most significant allies, the US and the United Kingdom, seem to have fallen out over Iran, with Donald Trump launching a blistering attack on Keir Starmer. Seven's Europe correspondent Ben Downey has the story.
Ben Downey? No shit, this is this guy's name? Ben Downey. He would have been sledged in high school. Ben Downey. What an unfortunate name.
On Keir Starmer. Seven's Europe correspondent Ben Downey has the story.
Yes, Natasha, the UK-US so-called special relationship might be one of the latest casualties of the Iran war, with Britain not allowing the US to use its Diego Garcia base in the Indian Ocean for those initial round of strikes against Iran, plus the UK's reluctance to commit to anything other than defensive actions. Well, it's outrage to Donald Trump, who in an Oval Office spray targeted Keir Starmer and the UK, saying he was very, very disappointed before making these extraordinary remarks.
By the way, I'm not happy with the UK either. So we are very surprised. This is not Winston Churchill that we're dealing with.
Now, the UK has sent HMS Dragon, a destroyer, as well as several helicopters equipped to take down drones to Cyprus after its base there, the RAF Akrotiri base, was targeted several times by Iranian drones. But take a look at this extraordinary vision. This is footage of a short-range air-to-air missile shot from a British F-35 jet toward an Iranian drone over Jordan. It's the first recorded air-to-air kill of a British F-35, but what's also extraordinary is these short-range missiles, well, they're typically around 10 times the cost of an Iranian drone, really illustrating how expensive even these defensive actions can be. Now, in addition to...
Well, the problem is Trump's story keeps changing as to why he decided to strike. What's he saying now?
Greece has sent multiple frigates as well as several jets to defend Cyprus. France has also sent its nuclear-powered Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier to the region, but Spain, well, it hasn't deployed any assets, and also it's not allowing the US to use its bases. That has also angered Donald Trump, who says he's going to cut off all trade with Spain. But some good news to end on, though. This is a shot of an Emirates jet from Dubai landing in Heathrow. The UAE now saying that it and other Gulf nations are able to work together to create safe travel corridors, so as many as 48 jets can travel in and out of the Gulf per hour. Some much needed relief, I'm sure, for some stranded Australian travellers. Natasha?
Right.
Absolutely, Ben, thank you. Back home now, and the economic threats from the Middle East conflict, a stirring debate around federal parliament on how Australia best prepares for an energy shock and also increasing pressure on inflation. Live now to Tim Lester in Canberra. Tim, good afternoon. The opposition says the government is to blame for the inflationary pressures right now.
Good afternoon, Tash. Yes, the Coalition's new leadership team headed to a supermarket here in Canberra today with the catch cry that inflation is not from Iran, it is from Canberra. No doubt inflation had...
I can't handle someone talking like that. Let's take a look at how we are going to be affected by this in terms of
when it comes to
fuel
oil,
prices.
There is no substitute for the Strait of Hormuz. It is a critical shipping lane whose narrowest point runs directly through Iranian territorial waters. Oil flows through this choke point, about 20% of the world's supply. That traffic is largely one way from the Middle East outwards. Saudi Arabia, Iraq, the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Qatar, no strait, no business. And Iran has just shut it down.
Iran is vowing to attack any ship trying to pass through the Strait of Hormuz.
Iranian media reports that authorities have been ordered to set any ship trying to pass through on fire.
This entire area has just been designated high risk by an international federation of transport workers who are paid to traverse it. That designation is a warning and also an entitlement, granting those on board the right to refuse to sail through. So what happens if oil stops flowing? And can the US kickstart it back up again? Let's try to answer that question.
This is an interesting channel. What's this channel called? Oh, it's CBC News. Okay, it just looked like a young YouTuber.
One important thing to understand about the consequences of sealing the strait is what actually allows Iran to do that in the first place. It's not a function of law, it's one of force and the threat of force.
The Strait of Hormuz can't be closed like a garden fence, right? There's no physical blockage. If Iran has the will and it still has the means, it can make passage unsafe.
So hold on. I misunderstood this from the get-go. So 20% of the world's oil supply comes through that gap or that strait, that little peninsula, the isthmus, but it's not 20% coming from Iran. So 20% of the world's oil supply comes from the regions around, including Iran, but Iran are saying this conflict is going to affect you guys because we're going to take control of that. So if Trump or Israel can knock out all of their weapons launching facilities and they can't control that gap, then everything's fine, right? We just don't need oil from Iran. How much, I guess the question is, how much of that 20% of oil comes from Iran? That's the bigger question. It's a decent amount of oil and Venezuela has even more. So you keep saying Venezuela, but where is that in relation to where we are right now? What's the connection to Venezuela? So 20% of the oil comes through that gap, but how much of it is coming from Iran? If they control that strait, but Trump can knock them out so that they no longer have control, does 15% of the world's oil keep flowing? Do we only lose 5%? How much of it comes from Iran is what I'm asking. I guess we could ask ChatGPT, but hopefully one of you guys knows.
Narrowest part of the strait is just over 30 kilometers across. That number matters because it would, on its surface, ordinarily mean that control of the strait legally belongs to Iran and Oman. That's because under international law, a country can count just over 20 kilometers from shore as their territorial waters.
All right.
Iran and Oman's claims overlap, so the strait is theirs. Except for a UN provision for passageways like the Strait of Hormuz, considered a strait used for international navigation. The law's core guarantee that all ships and aircraft enjoy the right of transit passage, which shall not be impeded. And there's a more specific provision, which applies directly to Iran in this case. States bordering straits shall not hamper transit passage. So
they're breaking the law, but obviously in times of war, laws are irrelevant. Kind of. Netsky, that's why Trump took out Venezuela first, so they got the oil sorted. Okay, so I missed that crucial part, and I'm still not exactly following where all this lies in terms of the overall picture, but that feels like a pretty important moment.
Iran's unilateral shutdown of the strait is not something with an easy legal resolution because, strictly speaking, it's already illegal. What that means is that no one knows for how long the strait may stay closed because what's closing it is almost entirely at Iran's discretion and damage has already occurred.
So I was going to say, have they taken out ships already? Like have they acted on this, or have they just talked about acting on it?
Oman's Maritime Security Center says an oil tanker has been attacked in the Strait of Hormuz, injuring 4 crew. Meanwhile, in another incident reported north of the capital, Muscat, an unknown projectile is said to have struck a vessel.
And what that means is that the outcome of closing the busiest oil shipping lane on the planet is unknown. But let's try to work through it anyway.
There we go.
About 20 million barrels of oil traveled through the Strait of Hormuz per day last year. You crunch the numbers on that. That's more than 30,000 tanker trips and at least $500 billion worth of energy trade. Again, in 1 year. Most of that oil heads east.
China, India, South Korea, Japan. Europe also buys a good deal of refined products like gasoline and jet fuel and diesel, but most of the crude oil goes to Asia.
But this affects people like you and me in North America in 2 clear ways. One, even if Canada or the US isn't buying the specific barrel of oil on a specific ship traveling through the strait, the price Canadians and Americans pay for oil is largely set on the global market. The interconnected nature of this business is that oil prices aren't completely siloed geographically.
We've seen a huge uptick in the price we pay for gasoline here in Canada and around North America. And it's not because of what's happening in the Gulf has suddenly changed the value of the oil that was refined last week and the gas that's in your car. It's the cost for those producers, for those refiners to go out and find replacement oil to refine into gasoline. Once oil starts to move somewhere, it moves everywhere really quick.
So a major supply disruption anywhere translates into a price increase everywhere, even in countries like the United States and Canada that export oil. We all face the same global price.
But also consider...
It is confusing. It's definitely confusing because the oil has to come from somewhere and it's coming from there, but now it's not, so therefore it's more difficult to obtain. However, if there's so much oil that the states are exporting it, why don't they just export less and keep more to themselves to stop, to fill the gap of the stuff that's no longer coming from that location? I am confused by this. And didn't you say yesterday, this is where it gets messy, it's not where it comes from, it's the global set market. But didn't you say yesterday that Australia has a minimum of at least 30 days oil surplus? It's sort of like gold, the prices are set globally. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Isn't it affecting, like, with that argument, wouldn't it also be affecting Iran as well? Yo, Charles in the house, how you doing? What Trump is trying to do is cut off China from getting dirt cheap oil from Iran and Venezuela, so China has to pay the same price everyone else pays. Okay, so essentially oil, petrol, gas, it's going to be expensive for quite a while now. The price of oil isn't going to come down at all. We have 30-ish days reserves, but we are meant to have 90 by law. So how can they jack the price up in Australia if they should be using the surplus or the reserves? How can the price already go up in 2 days? 3 days now since this all kind of popped off. I'm just refreshing this Petrol Spy app right now. And by the way, can I borrow your EV? Just kidding. Have they gone up again since I last checked? It was failed to retrieve results from the server. That's a bad sign. Shit. Let me see if I can't refresh this trouser. I hope they last I looked, they were $2.11. Let's see what it's up to now. No, it's still $2.11. I wonder what happens in the morning. Because prices are set by the global market, not per barrel or litre and so on. Yeah, okay.
If China is paying more for its oil because so much of it is now not reaching China, what do you think the trickle-down effect of that might be?
Oil is the lifeblood of modern civilization. It's embedded in the supply side of the economy. So airlines use it to transport people. Trucks bring the garden shares or steaks or fish or whatever you're buying in your grocery store. It's an input into manufacturing.
The vast majority of the oil Iran itself exports, almost 2 million barrels of oil a day, China buys almost all of it.
Wow.
These aren't insignificant amounts, and the longer this shutdown drags on, the more expensive it is likely to be for everyone.
It's not like, the price of chicken goes up, you can buy beef. But as the price of gasoline goes up, you still have to pay for the gasoline to get to work. So when the price goes up, it's like a tax. It's like a sudden big tax increase on businesses and on consumers.
As it drags on, those price increases, they're going to start to be reflected in how much money we have left in our wallets. It reduces the amount of money we have left to either invest or to pay down some debt, or to spend on our everyday needs or the occasional luxuries.
We go 3-4 weeks or more, and traffic cannot resume through Hormuz. In that case, we will have oil prices well above $100 a barrel. They will likely contribute to a recession and economic downturn.
The worst case scenario is whatever you could probably imagine, and 10x it. We don't know. This could get very bad. This could wrap up in a couple of days.
It's I mean, just watching the bloody the way these always roll, the way that politics always happens, it's never a quick process, right? Never. So look at Ukraine and Russia, and look at COVID and just 2 weeks to flatten. None of this shit happens quickly. So this is going to drag out and on and on and on. So we are going to have, it's just going to be horrible, right? The cost of petrol in this country, Australia, is already expensive. It's just gone up to $2.11 a litre. That's now. Tomorrow morning, that could even be higher. So we are definitely facing a pretty rough time. I'm just thinking selfishly for me, I need to go and fill up. And I wanted to go on do a IRL stream up in the mountains and camp out. Maybe I might not be able to. Maybe it might be too expensive to do that. This will go on for a while. Yeah. Yo, Dale's in the house. The main issue is vengeance on mass murderers and destroying their ability to threaten the planet. Oil is the third or fourth on the list. But Dale, if the acts of the US and Israel is causing the rest of the planet to have a surge in oil prices, then Trump bad. From my point of view, right? Trump bad at that point. If what he's doing is going to cost me more to fill up Govan, Trump bad. That's just how it works, right? That's just me being selfish. Like, and that's all we can be. Look after ourselves. No one else is going to. It's all related and messy. The price of gasoline won't matter to you if you are dead. That's a good point. But just sort of speaking naively on that, Australia doesn't really have a threat, right? We're so far away and tucked under the bottom of the planet. Everything's upside down. We're down under. There's no long-range missiles that are coming from Iran to hit Australia, right? Not a chance. There is wild possibilities of terror attacks. That's a definite thing. But it's even less than. But then again, you look at Bondi and whatnot. But it's less, right? So everything is in kind of like an alignment with Australia not being impacted so much, yet we already are with oil prices. That's kind of that's more what I'm getting at. We're being impacted immediately with surging petrol. We call it petrol, gas, oil. We're being impacted with that immediately, but we're not really that intrinsically connected, but yet we are. That's how I'm seeing it. Very selfish, yeah. I agree I'm being selfish. I don't deny that. Jude, the fact is we wouldn't be doing anything in Iran if the Saudis weren't for it. That's right. Because the threat isn't aimed at you, it's okay to have mass murder of Americans or Mideasterners. No. I'm just saying that when something is playing out on the opposite side of the planet and there's a flow-on effect, there is, I guess, not consequences, but yeah, there's a recognition of like, well, hold on a second. Just because we align ourselves with the US, are we now complicit with what they're doing? Do we need? I guess what I'm saying is, do we need that oil? The answer is obviously yes. I'll just turn on my air conditioning unit, which is going to cool me down because I'm getting a little hot here. They want the cheap oil off the market too, and for the wackos to stop terrorising the entire area. Australia wasn't directly threatened in World War II either, yet Oz fought with the Allies. Yeah, I know. I can, like, don't get this wrong. I agree with what you're saying, and I can see the angle. I am here in this country, we already pay a lot more for fuel than you guys. So isn't there any factor there? Like our gas prices are already jacked up way more than you guys. You guys always say, how much do you fucking pay for petrol? That's bullshit. I know it is. We already pay more. So now we're paying more and more? I thought it was a global structure. I thought we were all paying because of the way that the global finance. But no, Australia always, petrol, alcohol, anything to do with luxury items. We like electronics gears. We pay way more than anywhere on the planet. So what's with that? If that's the argument, then shouldn't we all have the same price? Righto, Dale. They also haven't shown proof that the threat was indeed immediate, so they could have waited and protected unnecessary deaths and global issues. Sure, we could say it was a preemptive strike, but it could be exactly like the other wars where it wasn't actually true. The price of oil. See, was you're arguing about the actual conflict and whether it should or shouldn't have started. It had started, and Trump made a decision to start it, so that's a moot point. Dale, the price of oil will temporarily go up, then back down once this is dealt with. But that's the thing. It doesn't look like this is going to be dealt with anytime soon. It's a process, and from what I understand, these processes seem to always go on longer than what they say. They always take longer. I mean, how long was the Ukraine-Russia conflict meant to be on for? It's still ongoing. How long was COVID meant to last? Just give us 2 more weeks to flatten the curve 2 years later, right? They're still talking about COVID. It's 2026. COVID-19, it's 2019 and they're still talking about it. It's 2026. I don't think the world at large has the right to all the intel. The leaders may have more info than is released, maybe. Was, according to the United Nations nuclear watchdog, the International Atomic Energy, the IAEA, inspectors have not found evidence that Iran is actively building a nuclear weapon or has a structured program to manufacture one. They've consistently said there's no proof Iran currently has a bomb or is making one, even though there are serious concerns about parts of its nuclear activities. I feel like that's enough, right, for Trump to say, okay, there's enough serious concerns. Let's mitigate those concerns. This shot will go on for ages. None of the quoting will not win you any arguments. The new leader is the son who shares the same views. Iran will never let the UN inspectors see everything. Would you if you were them? Let's get back to the rest of this. It's getting near to the end of this video, but whoops. The silver lining?
So the bad news, if you're anyone but Iran, is that in the near term, the shutdown is controlled by Iran. The worst news is that if the strait doesn't reopen, there's not really anybody left unaffected. The silver lining, though, is that the world can tolerate a bit of shock.
So far, the price went up, and it went up a little bit, but it did not go up in a way that would correspond with a broader, longer, harder conflict. Oil markets right now are saying, we don't think this is going to last, and if it does, we're going to have to reassess where prices are pretty quick and pretty dramatic.
Right now.
So the other question is then, what can the US and Israel and maybe UAE and Qatar and Oman, those countries and territories that border right on that peninsula, what can they do with the help of the states to secure the gap? If they're taking out military bases and blowing up all their missiles and all their launch pads, what can they do in that specific part of that Straits of Hormuz to secure it? Send in the boats? They're sending in foot soldiers into Lebanon. Are they going to send in the Navy, right, into the strait and just claim it back? Fight fire with fire, right? It's a 30-kilometer gap. It's not much to patrol. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can see 30 kilometers. So it's a visible line of sight. Unless I've got that wrong. Can't they do something? Can't they claim it? They'll probably send in more troops and fight yet another long war. Well, if Iran is saying nothing's going through that strait and America says, yes, it is, then it will, right? The Americans will just come in and claim it. He'll probably even call it the Straits of Trump or something, right? More than likely, we claim it back. We're going to claim it back. We're taking it. They won't give it to us. We're taking it. We're going to have a little fun. I got nothing better to do, so we're going to have a little fun. We will see. I don't believe that'll happen, but hey, I only live in the US. You don't think that they'll do anything? I mean, won't he do that? They'll do the same as they did in Venezuela, which was. Can you let us know what that was exactly? Was?
The world has a lot of excess oil, much of it provided by the US, which over the past decade has become the world's biggest producer of crude oil.
The United States is now the #1 producer of oil and natural gas anywhere in the world, anywhere on the planet. We're going to drill, baby, drill right away. Drill, baby, drill, and that's what we're doing. American natural gas production is at an all-time high because I kept my promise to drill, baby, drill.
And you can see evidence of that when you look at crude oil's price.
That's good, right?
During Israel's 12-day war on Iran last year, where you might have expected a big oil price shock, there really wasn't much of one. Same goes here, when the US captured Venezuela's president, the leader of the country with the world's largest proven oil reserves. There's a spike, but the kind of spike we've seen many times before. And even the most recent increase after the most recent strikes on Iran, just a fraction of what we saw.
Interesting.
For example, back in 2022, when Russia's invasion of Ukraine caused the price of oil to surge.
I think fundamentally, oil markets believe that the power and the necessity of the oil market will overwhelm whatever the politics driving the attacks are. And once this starts to cost more people more money, they expect the military operation to subside, or they expect some kind of a side deal that will allow oil to continue to flow in spite of an ongoing, more limited conflict.
We do have a lot of safety cushion in the market in terms of spare capacity, but also the strategic reserves, petroleum reserves in some countries. They have not been used and demand is not growing rapidly.
But here's the thing. Like I said before, there's no telling for how long the supply of oil will be strangled at the Strait of Hormuz. As I speak, there are well over 100 ships whose crews have decided, along with their insurance companies, that they cannot take the risk of transiting through.
The main obstacle that's keeping ships from traversing the Strait of Hormuz is not weapons or threats or mines or anything else. It's insurance. Insurance companies have been really quickly scaling down the level of insurance they have, the kinds of insurance they have, and in some cases, the insurance policy entirely. You're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in cargo. They're not going to take the risk.
Now, can the U.S. mitigate that risk? Maybe. Donald Trump has just posted online an intent to provide a financial backstop, though at the time I record this, there isn't a ton of detail. Just that no matter what, the United States will ensure the free flow of energy to the world.
See, that there reads as though whatever we need to do, we will do. No matter what, the United States will ensure the free flow of energy to the world.
But in the meantime, taking the long way around Africa is impractical, and the region's pipelines don't have anywhere near the throughput required to compensate for the loss of the strait. So the world waits for the fighting to stop.
We projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that. We'll do it.
So give it a month, maybe more.
Hectic, folks. A month, maybe more. Well, we'll see, I guess. I'll find out tomorrow when I awaken.
It's shit, man.
It is shit, man. It is shit. Hey, you know what's not shit? You guys hanging out with me on the stream, on 2 streams. I'm going to try to find out if I can bump 2 YouTube streams together into one big one using the editor. I don't think you can do that. I think you can only cut parts out of one. I don't think you can combine 2. Because my stream was cut in half, and so therefore there's 2 streams. But who cares? I don't care. It is what it is. It turns out I am working tomorrow. I declined it originally, and now I'm working. Could be a good thing though with these oil prices. You know, I should have factored that in, and it turns out that in some ways I did, because I am working. So I won't see you guys tomorrow, but considering what we know, I may or may not do an IRL stream on Friday, a camping IRL stream. I want to, but we have to keep an eye on this, right? It depends on how much it's going to cost me to fill up GoVan, to be completely honest. So I'm going to say ta-ta right now, but thank you all for being here with me live on the platform, on the channel even, and the platforms. And I'll catch you guys in a couple of days. Take care, have fun. Thank you, Woz. Thanks for all your comments. Thanks for being here live with me. Charles, good night. Don't forget to Farkle in the chat. Wait for it. Wait for it. Come up. Farkle in the chat, bringing loss to the grind. Farkle in the chat. Whoa! On the outgoing, Charles. Flowski gives us some lovely little animated GIFs, and you scared the absolute crap out of me. Thanks. That's a Farkle. Thanks for that. Goodness me, my Farkle. Community so solid, always shining bright. Rolling deep and cruising for the high.